people who don't do what we do. And then all of a sudden we put ourselves in a situation where we become what they say because they saw one person at one time do one thing, right? So what does it look like all the way across the university, including Fall Creek, Wisconsin? I don't know if you know where Fall Creek, Wisconsin is, but and you may not know, but you may know the mascot, people. You may know because we are the home of the Fall Creek Crickets. People ask the mascot right now. We are the mighty Crickets. Like we will annoy the heck out of you. Give us the opportunity. I think that Amanda's bringing me in today. You're probably thinking like Amanda got somebody famous. He must be like some sort of nationally renowned, best-selling author, like a TED speaker. People, I've been on the cover of the Cricket Chirp. All right, let's just be honest about this. This is the level of fame you're dealing with right now. I want to be really clear about what's happening. This is what you get because the last couple of years have been really interesting, specifically in educational institutions. It's been really interesting how things have rolled out over the course of the last couple of years. And I get to speak to a lot of educational spaces. And it's been really interesting. In 2021, 22, coming out of the pandemic, everybody in schools, everybody was fixated on this. Everybody was fixated on this. They needed stuff. Everybody wanted stuff, but it wasn't the stuff that they needed in the past. It was new stuff. Everybody needed new stuff, right? So in our district, everybody needed gloves. So we went out and bought them gloves, right? And then they wanted goggles. So we went out and bought them goggles. Then we figured everybody knew how to use the stuff. Nobody knew how to use the stuff. They're like this kid using the stuff. He's got all the stuff. There it was. There it was. That was year one. Then you get to year two, and everybody thought they knew what they were doing, but nobody knew what they were doing, right? So everybody made up what they were doing because they just felt like it was the best thing. And so I thought 22, 23 in schools was actually harder than 21, 22. I really did, right? And so I walked out of people were just making it up. And so I walked out of meetings in 22, 23 like this guy.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to
it. Right? And then you get to 23, 24, and the state of Wisconsin was like, hey, schools, we love you, but you know what? There's no more money. So just figure it out. Like, you'll be fine. Just figure it out. You're innovative, right? Okay. So everybody at the beginning of last year was there, at the beginning of this year was sitting around a table like this kid.
Jaden has $1 bill, 1 quarter, and 2 pennies. How much money does he have? Jaden broke.
There it was, man. Those were the last 3 years. And then here you sit right now thinking about what 24, 25 is going to look like, man. I like it. This is what we do, right? I mean, it's just what it is, right? So, and I think we got to put ourselves in a situation where we can see some of the great things. So I'm going to tell you about Fall Creek, Wisconsin. And I can tell you about Fall Creek, Wisconsin, or I can let my kids tell you about Fall Creek, Wisconsin. This is Brayton Meyer. He's a 2015 alumnus of Fall Creek High School. And this is his take on Fall Creek, Wisconsin.
A small town, like 1,300 people, small. No stoplights, 3 bars, a place where everyone knows each other. 19 years of my life here. Same home, same school, a real life small town.
And that's it. That's the whole thing. You want me to do it again? I'll do it again. That's all. People, we got 3 bars, we got 2 gas stations, we got 1 school. That's all we got, right? And the best thing about living in Fall Creek, Wisconsin is on Friday night, I know where everybody's going to be. But sometimes the worst thing about living in Fall Creek, Wisconsin is on Friday night, I know where everybody's going to be. Right? They're all going to be at a game and they're all going to be cheering on our kids, but they're all going to have an opinion on how we should run our school because they all went to school. And when you go to school, you know how to run a school. Right? Especially if you had a 13-year internship at one, You know exactly how that place is supposed to roll out. And they talk like they know exactly what we do. They have no idea what we do. They have no idea what you do. They're not there at 6 o'clock in the morning or 10 o'clock at night. They're not there when you're fixing stuff just to make sure that the safety is not compromised. They're not there when you're trying to make sure that everybody's connected in the way that they should be connected. They're not there for any of that stuff. They're there to complain when things go wrong, and that's it. And it makes me nuts, but at the same time, this is what we deal with. If we don't figure out ways to see some of the great stuff that happens within the context of that, we put ourselves in a really difficult position. Okay. So when I moved to Fall Creek, Wisconsin, man, I moved to Fall Creek, Wisconsin. I bought the house literally across the street from school in Fall Creek, Wisconsin. Okay. Which has been a relatively good experience for the most part. There was the one time that my then 5th grader tied my 4-year-old to a tree. Kindergarten teacher took a picture from her classroom and emailed it to me with the subject line, "How's your behavior management program working at home?" I said, fine, she's not going anywhere. So here's the thing you need to understand. The boy on the right's the sweetest boy you will ever meet in your life. The one on the left is not. He did something to get there. I can promise you that. Okay? The thing about living across the street from school, living in a small town, is I knew very early in the process I was going to have all these interactions with people. And the thing I needed to understand about all these interactions is that every single one of them mattered, because every single one of them had the opportunity to be the one that people talk about for the rest of their lives. Now, I want to be really crystal clear about this statement. Please understand this. I do not love this. I'm just going to be really honest about it. I don't love it. I don't love that every single time I have a conversation with somebody, that might be the one thing that they talk about in 25 years. I don't love it, but I acknowledge that it's real. And if I acknowledge that it's real, I treat that conversation just a little bit differently, because I know and understand that that might be the one thing that they talk about in 25 years. I don't have to love it, but I do have to acknowledge that it's real, because otherwise we go and we go and we go and we do and we do and we do. And we never take a step back to realize the impact of what that go, 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 do is. Now, here's the other thing, is that I think one of the things that happens to us, how many people in the room, I wish I was there for this one question. How many people in the room are where are my list people? Raise your hand if you're a list person. I promise you, 3/4 of that room is hand raised right now, right? So there are 2 types of list people in the world. Okay, there are list people that write stuff down on a list and check it off as they go along. Then there are list people like me, write stuff down on a list, check it off as I go along. But if I do something that's not on the list, I'm gonna write it on that list. Then I'm gonna check it off. Then I get credit for that. I did it. But if you're always in list mentality, there's always something on the list. And how many things on your list are things that you like to do? Or are they just things that need to get done? Man, I love looking at my list when I'm done. But then I walk out of my office, I walk back in, there's 10 more things on the list. And I'll tell you, what changed for me was I kept thinking to myself, how many things have I walked past throughout the course of the day to get to the next thing on the list? And if any of the things that I walked past, of any of those things, would they have brought me enough joy to bring me back the next day feeling better about the work that we do? Because we don't get the immediate gratification for the work that we do. And the work that you do is often preempted by something that's going wrong that people need fixed. And so you're always fixing, right? And it's great to fix something and feel better, but guess what? You walk out, they call you again. It's like, we got to find some joy within the context of this. Otherwise, we don't see the beauty in the fact that the work that you do allows the institution to function. Like, that's what you do, right? But if you don't see that, you're always bound by the mess. And I can't take the mess off your plate. I can't. But can I put ourselves in a situation where we can see joy within the context of that list or find it? And I didn't realize that until years ago, when my wife decided it was her family summer to do this Griswold family vacation. I don't know if you've done this thing where you get in the car and you travel across the country with your family Have you done this? Like, this is the worst idea in the history of the world. Nobody consulted me on this. This is so my wife decides that we're going to Yellowstone. I'm like, that sounds like a fantastic idea. I'd never been there. Let's go to Yellowstone. I put in Yellowstone in my phone, drop it in, drops a little pin, and I'm like, look at all that green. This is going to be great. Here's the thing they don't tell you about the activity. It's not at all about where you're going to. It's about where you're coming from. Because when you do the next part of the activity and it drops the pin into where you're coming from, then it connects the line. You're like, oh my God. I mean, even Google was like, dude, do not do this. Don't do it. Like, this is not only a map of our trip from Fall Creek, Wisconsin to Yellowstone National Park. This is a map of the actual start and stop time of this little girl's voice on a trip to Yellowstone National Park. And everybody loves this picture because she's adorable. Yeah, she's adorable in the picture because she's not talking. There's a distinct difference when she opens her mouth. This is Allie. I love Allie with everything I got. I mean, she is everything I got, but she's a lot. And I knew she was a lot when she was in second grade. She stole my computer and she started her own podcast.
My name's Ailey. Welcome to the Elster Show. We're going to be talking about awesomeness because that's what I am. I'm awesomeness.
Yep. There it is, people. And it's really cute in second grade. It's not nearly as cute when she goes to fourth grade and calls a press conference.
I don't know if fourth grade is ready for me, but I'm coming. Buckle up. I'm talking to you, Mr. Janky. You're in for a real treat.
Yep. There it is, people. And she's got all these stories, and all these stories were super cute till we got to, I don't know, maybe there. And then I thought to myself, that's a long time for the Elster Show. Then she started just getting mad about everything. She's like, where's my iPod? Where's my iPad? When are we going to stop? I'm hungry. I want something to eat. The brothers are looking at me funny. The brothers are breathing too heavy. Everything in the world is bothering this child. And then all of a sudden we get here. And she just stopped for like 30 seconds. Started talking again, but she didn't start to talk about all the stuff that was bothering her. Now she started to talk about all the stuff that's out in front of her, right? Why does it look like that, Daddy? Take me there, Daddy. I want to see that, Daddy. Why does it look like that? That was her moment of awe. That was the thing that stopped her in her tracks and made her think differently about the world that she lives in. And the thing about moments of awe, specifically in schools, is that they happen around us all the time. You know, schools don't look like this anymore. Schools don't look like this, right? They don't look like this anymore. Or this, man. They don't. This is 1 week in Fall Creek, Wisconsin, and this is 1 week in a lot of places all across the country. But I'll tell you, Fall Creek, Wisconsin is a K-12 building. Kindergarten kids through 12th grade kids, 835 kids, all under one roof. And outside of lunch, it's a fantastic place to be, right? These things happen in our building all the time. That's a high school senior walking a 4-year-old to her 4-year-old kindergarten class. That happens in our school. Okay. You didn't know that happened in our school till right now. And I'm not out here trying to tell you how to feel about it. I'm just telling you that it's real. And when you know it's real, you can make an accurate depiction of what happens in the space as opposed to what you think might be happening in the space, which is exactly what people outside of your space are doing all the time, making an inaccurate depiction about what you do because at some point they all had one interaction with one person holding one job at one time, and all of a sudden that becomes who we all are. So what do we do to change the conversation? Because moments of awe are literally every. Here's a 4-year-old kindergarten class in Fall Creek just watching a science experiment. Like, check my man right here. Like, that's not a moment of awe for that kid. Right? Like, sometimes those moments get to be just a little bit too much. There he goes. My favorite part of the video is my guy right here. He puts the goggles on like, baby, this thing just got real over here. And he things are around us all the time, but how many things do we walk past to get to the next thing on the list, right? And if we can find some joy and laughter within the context of what we do, it makes it easy to come back the next day, making sure that we know and understand the work that we do has impact. And in talking to your group before I got here a couple days ago, one of the things that was brought up that I thought was really, really special was how people take care of each other within the context of the team. And I think that's the biggest thing, is if we can take care of each other within the context of the team, we give ourselves a better chance outside of the team. But I think one thing that happens with us is, what are we doing to change the conversation of outside people so we can still create some momentum inside? Because if we don't get a chance to talk about the great things that we do, it becomes harder to do this. It becomes harder to be proud of the work that we do because we feel like we're always defending the work that we do, right? And there's a distinct difference between being proud of something and defending something. Okay? I can tell you what you're proud of. I can tell you what you're proud of right now, right? If you go to your phone, go to your Photos app, I'll tell you exactly what you're proud of. Kids, pet, house, car, hunt, fish, cabin, boat, it's all on your phone. And you'll tell stories about that stuff all day because you know you're going to walk out of that conversation feeling better than when you walked in. But if you're always defending the work, you know you walk out of that conversation feeling more intense, maybe even worse than when you walked in. So if you're always defending the work to the same person or the same group of people, at some point it starts to become easier to avoid conversations with that person or that group of people. You walk down the hallway. You go out different doors. You wait a little bit longer on the call. You wait a little bit longer on the email because you know you're going to feel more intense than when you walk out than when you walked in. And that's when people in our world start talking like this. They're just a teacher. I'm just a technician. I'm just a custodian, secretary, paraprofessional, cook, nurse, bus driver. I'm just. When you say this, when you say that you're just, when you say that you're only, you devalue all of your work. But not only do you devalue your work, you give the person that you're talking to license to do exactly the same. And the one thing that we have to understand about the work that we do is that nobody's changing the way they talk about us until we change the way that we talk about us. And if the only thing that we do is change the way that we talk about us, we give everybody on this call, everybody in that room, a better chance to feel better about the work that we do, right? And I would love to tell you that I started telling the story of Fall Creek because in my heart, it was the right thing to do. I would love to tell you that all I wanted to do was celebrate our staff. All I wanted to do was celebrate our kids. All I wanted to do was celebrate our community. I would love to tell you that, and it would be a lot. Because when I got to Fall Creek, Wisconsin, I was the 5th superintendent in 6 years. Okay? So if you're the 5th superintendent in 6 years, the advice you get is good luck and rent. Like, that's it, right? So, like, people, this was my nameplate. Can we talk about the nameplate they gave the new superintendent of schools on his first day? I want to dive really deep into this bad boy, if you don't mind, if you got it a second, because people, this is masking tape. There's changing it out. Last year, my secretary Teresa came up to me. She's like, "Joe, you've been here for 12 years. I can get you a new nameplate if you want." I was like, "Not now." Don't jinx me now. It just replaced the tape. Okay, like here's the other reason I started telling a story of Fall Creek, Wisconsin. This is right. In my first day as a superintendent, I walked into Riot's 4-year-old kindergarten class. This kid grabs onto my leg, looks up at me, he says, "What's your name? Where's your hair? My dad's better than you. He's got a big truck." So I expelled him. So gotta establish yourself early. I was kidding. I did not expel him. Please understand. I needed him for the head count. So here's the thing we needed to understand. He had no idea what I did. So I walked into Riot's classroom like a month later because I do these little video updates. And when I walked into his classroom,
good morning, everybody. How are you doing? It's good to see you. Are you excited today?
Yeah, why do you always have to come here?
from who the heck are you to why you always in my space, man? Like, it's graham cracker and pudding day, boss. You got to bounce. He had no idea what I did, right? But he was just like every person in that community. And when they don't know what you do, they make up what you do. And when they make up what you do, it's based on what happened to them 25 years ago, when they didn't get a second chicken sandwich at lunch, or they got put against the wall at recess, or they got a grade they didn't deserve, or the coach didn't play. And then that becomes the story. And it becomes the story in literally every occupation, right? Because when they don't know what we do, they start to make up what we do. And then they start to question what we do based on what they make up about what we do. And all of a sudden, we put ourselves in a really difficult situation. I think there's this perceived notion of what we do versus the actual notion of what we do. The problem that I have is the people who are making decisions often think that we live on the left side of the diagram. So when they think that we live on the left side of the diagram, they make decisions based on the left side of the diagram. That's not where we live. We live on the other side of the diagram, where we live in a world like today, where we network with a bunch of people. We get a bunch of great ideas. We bring them back to our department, and then people groan about the new ideas. Then they see some value in them, so that feels pretty good. Next thing you know, they tell you they don't have any time. But then there's a break coming up, and that's awesome. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, monkeypox hits. And it all goes to heck. There it is, man. That's where all the long nights are. That's where all the early mornings are. That's where all the stuff that you don't want to do, that's where all that stuff lives, right in that mess. But that's where all the great stuff is too. And until we figure out a way to tease out the great things that happen in the mess is the only thing that we see. And if you come to work every day and the only thing that you see is the mess, that's when you start to wonder why it's even worth it, right? And I think sometimes we need to make sure that we help each other within the context of what we do to see some joy within the confines of the mess. And we need each other for that. And it's not just about, I think a lot of times the other thing that happens with us when things get really tough, I think the problem is that, and it happens in schools all the time. It happens in K-12 schools all the time. We wait to support the people who need support until they're at the breaking point of needing that support. And then all of a sudden we like pour into them to make sure that they're okay. Like if we would have just done it throughout the course of time, they wouldn't have been at the breaking point. But we don't do that. So if we just back it up and say, how are we supporting each other? And it's not like you have to go next door and have some deep philosophical conversation with the person that works next to you. Sometimes it's just about going to have a conversation about what's going on in their world, just to make sure that we're connected, because it feels better. I'm going to make you one promise today and one promise only. Of all the things that I say to you, this is the only promise that I will make you. You can tell a story about your school, your department, your organization, your team, your whatever. You can tell a story every day from today until the day that you retire, or you can tell none. And either way, you're going to be judged. Because we live in a world where people judge. I don't love that we live in a world where people judge, but guess what? That's not changing tomorrow. So if they're going to judge me based on what's happening in Fall Creek, Wisconsin, I want them to judge me based on what's happening in Fall Creek, Wisconsin. Not what happened in Fall Creek, Wisconsin 25 years ago. What's happening right now, right? Because we all judge. We all do it. People look at this and they judge it. They say it's beautiful. They say it's destructive, but they only judge what they see. They only judge the wave. They don't judge the rock that it hits or the current underneath or the land structures or whatever. This is like when you go to a game and you see a coach yelling at a kid, then all of a sudden that's who the coach is, no matter what. They don't talk about the fact that the coach and the kid have had multiple conversations about where the kid is supposed to be at that particular time. They don't talk about the fact that the coach makes sure the kid gets breakfast in the morning, or the kid gets home safely at night, or gets the homework help they need, or whatever. They talk about the fact that the coach yelled at the kid. That's who the coach is. And we all do it. We all do it on some level. I'm going to show you a picture. You're free to take pictures of anything up here and do anything you want with them, except the next picture, please, because it's a picture of a kid in crisis, okay? So I'm walking down the elementary school one day, and I see this little girl. She's sitting at the kindergarten door. She is pounding on this kindergarten door with everything she's got. She's screaming. She's crying. She's as upset as any kid you will ever see. So anybody who's ever worked with elementary kids, you know that in that moment, you always get down to the level of the kid to have the conversation. So, of course, I get down to the level of the kid, and here I am, eye to eye with this child, and I asked her one question, and this is the response that I got. The question that I asked her was which finger got slammed in the door. Got you. Now you're mad at me, right? But what was your first thought? Your first thought was, where'd she learn it? What kind of family did she come from? Right? What if I would have said this? I'm walking down the elementary school one day. I see this little girl. She's sitting at the kindergarten door. It looked like the door had just slammed and she's shaking her hand. I asked her which finger got slammed in the door. And she did this. Now it's a cute story about a kid who doesn't know any better. But when you fill in the gaps, you fill in the gaps based on what you think might have happened. And this is exactly what people are doing to us every day. Well, not this. Some people are doing this, but whatever. You know what I mean? Right? Like, they're doing this to us. They're filling in the gaps based on what happened. So when we talked about this with our staff, we told people that what people see and what's actually happening aren't always the same thing. So if I can close the gap on what they see in the actual story, we give ourselves the best chance along the way. And I told my staff originally about it that we do this in 30 seconds. There are 960 30-second opportunities in an 8-hour day. Okay. Can we take a couple of them and really lean into each other and give ourselves the best chance? And when I told my staff this, they kind of freaked out a little bit. They're like, Joe, 30 seconds is too short. It's too short. You can't do it, Joe. Too short. I'm like, 30 seconds is plenty of time. And I can prove to you that it's plenty of time. And I did. I proved to them that it's plenty of time. And I'm actually going to prove it to the group that's in the room. I think there's 200 people in this room, in the main room. I want everybody in the main room to stand up. Everybody stand up, please. Okay? Here's what I want you to do. And then we're going to have to, I hope this works out. I can't see anything. So here's what I want you to do. All you need to do is turn to the person next to you. Just stand face to face with that person. That's all you got to do. Okay. All right. Here's how the game works. Here's what I need you to do. As soon as I say go, you're standing face to face with your partner. As soon as I say go, what I need you to do with your partner is you're standing face to face. As soon as I say go, what I need you to do is get 2 inches from that person's nose and stare into that person's eyes and see if you can do it for 30 seconds. All right, stop. Everybody stop. Stop. So, hold on. I'm not going to make you do it. But I can promise you I know what happened in that room because it happens in every room. As soon as I say it, half of the room starts backing away. 25% of the room just looks at your partner and says, yeah, no, we're not doing that. Like, he's online, dude. He's not even going to see us. Don't even try to do it. Right? Yeah, 25% of you leaned in right away. We should probably talk to you people. So when I did this with my staff, they couldn't do it. After 3 seconds, they're backing up, taking pictures, perfect time for a bathroom break. Like, I know all the tricks. And then I do want you to do the next part. And I want everybody to do this part. Everybody do this part. Everybody get your phones out real quick. Get your phones out. For some of you, that won't be a problem. You've been texting the whole time. You're like, man, that guy from Fall Creek talks super fast. All right, here's what we're gonna do. I want to find somebody in your contacts list that means something to you, somebody that has helped you get to this place in your life. And I want you to text them, tweet them, Instagram message them, Facebook them. I don't care how you get a hold of these people, but just get a hold of them and say thank you for something that they've done to help you get to this point in your life, and send that text message off. Then you can have a seat when you're done. All right, here we go. Find somebody. You got 30 seconds, and your time starts now.
Hold on to me as we go, as we roll down this unfamiliar road. And although this wave is stringing us along, just know you're not alone. 'Cause I'm gonna make this place your home.
All right, everybody have a seat. Okay, have a seat. So I hope you're able to get it done in 30 seconds. I was doing this activity a couple years ago, and we were in this huge auditorium, and then I got into the next part of the presentation, and I'm like 10 minutes into the next part of the presentation, and I'm going on, and I was probably at one of those spots where like you do that dramatic pause kind of thing. It was like out of nowhere, this woman in the back of the auditorium, she just started laughing. Like hysterically laughing to the point that people were looking around at her. And I didn't say anything funny, and no joke, nothing. And I finally just stopped. I said, "Hey, are you okay?" And she yells from the back of this auditorium. She goes, "I just got a text back from my husband." I said, that's beautiful. And she goes, "Yeah, he asked if I had been drinking." So if you get a text back in the next 10 minutes that says, "Hey, are you okay?" Is there something we need to talk about? Is all my stuff on the lawn? Like if you get that text back, we got to think about how often are you telling these people that you care about them? You know you care about them. How often are you telling them that you care about them? And let's be honest about the text message that you just sent. How often does the person that you just sent the text message to, how often does that person get some of the tough parts of this job? Can we bring them along for some of the good stuff too? Right? Like I know my wife loves me. I know my kids love me. But they're not in that room with that upset parent or that upset teacher or that upset colleague, or, they're not there, and they shouldn't be. But sometimes I bring it home. I don't mean to, but sometimes I do. So can we be a little bit more intentional about what that looks like? And I think this is really helpful in terms of how we can create momentum along the way. And one of the things that's really important about it is, what are we doing to make sure that all of these interactions give us the best opportunity to be remembered the way that we want to be remembered? Before I was a principal and a superintendent, I taught elementary school, I coached at the high school, and I was a counselor. I was an awful school counselor, and I just say that to everybody. I was bad. So kids would come up to me and tell me that they were upset about stuff. And I'm like, man, if you do your work, you'll feel better. So like, it wasn't like the best fit for me at all. Okay. But one thing I loved about being a school counselor was I got to go into classrooms and do team building games. And as you can see, I love me some team building games. I went into a third grade class. I was so excited about this game we were going to do. I jump into this class and I'm like, all right, kids, we're going on a picnic today, kids. Who wants to come on a picnic with Mr. Sanfilippo? They're all raising their hand. I'm like, all right. You want to come on a picnic? You got to bring something on the picnic. My name's Mr. Sanfilippo, Sanfilippo, and I'll be bringing sandwiches to the picnic. Sanfilippo's bringing sandwiches. Sanfilippo, sandwiches. Who's coming on a picnic with me? They're all raising their hand. I'm like, they're going to get it. First letter. You know what? I'm going to pick the smartest kid in class. That kid's going to get it right. We're going to get momentum. It's going to be fantastic. Tommy's the smartest kid in class, so I'm picking on Tommy. And I'm going to prep him. Tommy, my man, Tommy. My man, Tommy. Tommy, what are you bringing to the picnic, Tommy? Tommy stands up in front of the whole class and yells at the top of his lungs, "Watermelon!" I looked at Tommy and said, "You can't come." I told you I wasn't great. Tommy could have brought tacos. He could have brought tomatoes. He could have brought tofu. I don't care, anything that started with a T. But he couldn't bring watermelon because it didn't start with a T. So after 3 minutes of third grade kids staring into my soul and not one of these kids getting it right, I'm like, well, this is the dumbest thing I've ever done, ever. I'm never doing this again. I was devastated. Never did it again. One time, one third grade class, never did it again. Fast forward 10 years later, I'm back in Ashwaubenon, having lunch with a former student named Jake. Jake and I did the whole selfie thing, Twitter thing, right? Then we posted this selfie to Twitter. And as soon as we posted the selfie to Twitter, we get this response to a tweet from a kid named Hans. And Hans is all like, "Hey, so you still bringing sandwiches to the picnic?" Now, my man Hans and I had a lot of conversations, but this is the one that he remembers. And the thing that we have to understand about the work that we do is that we don't get to choose. I would love to tell you that the thing that you love to do the most in your position is the thing that people are going to remember you for when you leave. I just can't. What I can tell you is this. the more opportunities we give ourselves to be remembered the way that we want to be remembered, the better chance we have to be remembered the way that we want to be remembered. Just give yourself a chance. All I'm asking is to give yourself a chance. So what does it look like in our space? And if we look at it, when we're working with people, what does it actually look like? It's not philosophical. What does it look like? And in our building, it looks like this. What are you doing to recognize the greatness of your colleagues, acknowledge the greatness of your colleagues, and extend the greatness of your colleagues? And of your colleagues is super important, because that's what develops momentum for us, right? In my building, it looks like this. If I'm walking down a second grade hallway and I see a second grade teacher doing great things, I walk into that second grade teacher's room to tell that second grade teacher she's doing great things. I recognized it. I acknowledged it. And a lot of people do that. But when you do the third thing, when you extend the conversation to the 8th grade science teacher who has no business of being in second grade, and you tell the 8th grade science teacher about the incredible things happening in second grade, what inevitably happens is the 8th grade science teacher walks to the second grade classroom to tell the second grade teacher that she's doing great things. And the reason that he does it is because at some point somebody did it for him. And it felt good. And we just want to live and work in a place that feels good. I'm not even talking about great. I'm talking about good. Like, it's hard to have a great day when you spill coffee on your way to work, man. Get yourself to good every day. Give yourself a shot at great. Because I don't think there's a ton of people in the world that wake up in the morning and say, man, I can't wait to be average today. Right? Like, average is not a place that you aspire to be. It's a place that you end up. It's like going to Denny's. Like, nobody goes to Denny's. You just end up there. This is what happens with average. Right? But you're all laughing. You know. I mean, there's always one person. I love the twofer. No, you don't. No. So we got to put ourselves in a spot where we can see some of these great things, and it starts with being able to recognize. So here's what I want you to do. I'm going to give you about 30. Give you about a minute. Give you about a minute. And what I want you to do is just turn to the person next to you and have this conversation. What are the first 8 things you do every day when you get to work? First 8 things you do when you get to work. What are the first 8 things? Go ahead and just have that conversation really quickly. Go ahead. Or if you're by yourself, write them down, please. Just write them down. All right, let's come on back. Start coming back. All right. All right, so here's what I want you to think about. Come on back. Here's what I want you to think about. So I want you to think about those first 8 things that you do. Now I want you to think about, a lot of times when I do this, people like talk about it as they actually walk into work, walk into school. How many of those things bring you joy? Right? Coffee counts. Coffee counts. If you said coffee twice, it counts twice. Right? And then where are they on your list? Were they at the beginning of your list? Were they at the end of your list? Were they not even on your list? Here's my list when I got to school every day. Get to school, turn my computer on, get some seltzer water, open email, respond to emails, sign forms, walk hallways, get into classrooms, and connect with people. The things in blue are the things that I like to do. Right? So by the time that I got to the things I like to do, I was already in the wrong mindset to do those things. Because I don't know if it's like this where you are, but there aren't a ton of people emailing the superintendent of schools in Fall Creek, Wisconsin at 6 a.m. with great things to say about the school. Right? So all of a sudden I'm stuck. All this stuff needs to get done. But can I do it in a way that allows me to see some of the great stuff and put me in the right mindset to recognize the greatness of those around me? Right? You do the first 8 things you do when you get to school. At some point today, I want you to write this down. I want you to write down at some point today, what are the first 8 things you do when you get home? Okay. There's a tea and scotch. Okay. So you want to make sure, because we go home to the people that we love the most, that we care about the most, that give us the most latitude, and then they get the least of us because they love us the most and give us the most latitude. Just because someone loves you the most doesn't mean that they should get the least of you. All right. So what do? We talk to our staff about starting your day and ending your day with joy. And it's not just about the joy. It's about starting and ending too. Because if you don't start and end your day, that's where you cycle. If you can never get away from it, then you say, and honestly, if we're the other thing that we got to consider is if we're leading people, we got to make sure that we allow them to start and end their day. I used to send text messages out to people at 9, 10, 11 o'clock at night just to get something off my chest to make sure that we could talk about it the next day. As soon as I did that, I didn't just take it off my chest because I was still thinking about it, but I put it directly on somebody else's chest. And then they came into school the next day and they were mad. And I'm like, why are you mad? I told you what we were going to do. And they're like, well, we didn't sleep all night because we knew this was coming, right? So what are we doing to make sure that we start and end our day, but also model what that looks like and create a culture where we're available and able to do that, right? I think that's a big deal in terms of how we operate, because if we can create a culture where people do their best work, not your best work, but it turns into our best work, it changes the way that we operate along the way. And I think every organization, if they know where people are coming from, we give ourselves a better chance to actually move those people. Like all organizations are built into 5 different levels, right? And I'm not the only person that feels this way. Schlechte calls them trailblazers, pioneers, standard by stay-at-home saboteurs. Everett Rogers is all about early adopters, early majority, late majority. I wasn't that smart when I did my dissertation, so I just called them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, so here's how these people operate, okay? So let's say that you take an initiative to a group of people, and let's say you say to the group of people, hey, I need you to run through that wall, because on the other side of that wall is something that's going to make us better. It's going to, it's going to be a lot. You're going to have to get through the wall, but it's going to make us better. It's going to make you better. It's going to make us better. It's on the other side of that wall, right? As soon as you say it, the ones just start running into the wall, and they hit it. They're going to get through it. They're probably going to get hurt a little bit, but they're going to get through it because you, as the leader, said go. The 2s are like, all right, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to wait until the 1s are almost through the wall. And when the ones are almost through the wall, I'm going to push them. And then I'm going to show up on the other side of the wall. It's going to look like I was one of the first people over here, even though I didn't do the work to be one of the first people over here, right? And the 3s are like, I love teaching dinosaurs. I know I'm not supposed to teach dinosaurs, but I'm really good at teaching dinosaurs. So I'm going to stay here teaching dinosaurs for a little bit until the hole in that wall is perfectly framed out and swept up and wide enough where I can bring my dinosaur stuff. And then when it's that wide, I'll bring my dinosaur stuff over to the other side of the wall, right? The 4s are like, you can't really make me go. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to walk to that wall as slowly as I possibly can. Because my hope is by the time I get to the wall, there's a change in leadership. And then you people are going to make me run through another wall. It's on the other side of this room. Right? And the 5s are like, I ain't going. You can't make me go. And not only am I not going to go, I'm going to take every brick in this building and put it against the wall before the 1s start running into it so they get hurt. You know what I'm talking about, right? Here's the really interesting thing about what we found in the research. And that is that you have the biggest impact on the group that you're connected to, and your impact wanes as you get farther from the group who you are. So the 1s have impact on 2, but less impact on 3s, 4s, and 5s. 2s actually have impact on 1s and 3s, and less on 4s and 5s. 3s with 2s and 4s and so forth and so on. So what we do is if we can figure out ways that these groups are connected, now all of a sudden we can move the group forward. Then then you have the 5, everybody's got the 5s, right? But what happens if the 4 is connected to a 3, a person that's willing to bring their dinosaur stuff, they just want to go, they just want to bring their stuff with them, which is fine because they want to feel like what they did wasn't all for naught. And I get that. But if you connect those 2 groups, now the 5 has a decision to make, right? The 5 either moves to a 4 where they walk to the wall really slowly, or they stay as a 5 putting bricks up with half the audience that they used to have. And either way, you can still move things forward, right? So we got to think about what that really looks like in terms of building a culture where it allows us to see some of these great things. The problem is how are we putting, our committees together so we're that everybody moves as opposed to, just having, if everybody on your committee is a 1, right? Like the committee meetings are fantastic, but then nothing gets done. And then some people are like, well, if we put the 5s on the committee, they'll just know that it's important. I'm like, no, they won't. They already made their decision. Like they're not helping you. The 4s may want, but the 5s aren't going to help you. So that's just what it is. We're reducing the audience, right? So if we create a culture where trust comes in to this opportunity, there's a better chance. So how do you value people where they're at? You create a culture where their story has value. When everybody's story has value, it changes the way that people operate and allows you to acknowledge the great things that are happening and provide momentum along the way. In our boardroom, we have these pictures of kids. And before every board meeting, I stand up and say, let's never forget why we make decisions in this school district. I mean, it literally takes 2 seconds, but it puts every board member in the right mindset to make decisions for kids. Do I want 5 board members walking hallways of schools every day? No, absolutely not. Do I want them in the right mindset to make decisions once a month? Yeah. We start our meetings with kids because I never want them to forget why they're there. This is Caden. Caden came up to me as a 3rd grader. He said, Dr. Sanfilippo, I just got back from the visually impaired Olympics in Denver and I won these ribbons. Do you think I could come to the school board and talk about my ribbons? Yep. 100 times yes, kid. You know what? We'll put you right before public comment. Come on in, buddy. I'm no dummy. You're going to come yell about our school district? Do it after that smiling little 9-year-old. He comes in and crushes it. And then this 9-year-old kid, right before he takes off, he says, I want to say one more thing. I want to say thank you to Mrs. Moore. She's my paraprofessional here. She helps me get through school. She just makes it a lot easier on me. So what do you think happens to Mrs. Moore in the spring when we start talking about the budget? Right? Now she's not a number on a piece of paper. She's a story. And the story wins every single time. Data does not drive a movement. I'm sorry, it just doesn't. The story connected to the data drives the movement because the story connects to the emotion of the listener. And everybody in this room knows the importance of data. Everybody knows the importance of data. But if you want it to move, you got to connect it to the emotion of the listener, right? Because these stories are everywhere and everybody's got one. When I was a kid, everything that I did went on the fridge. Everything. I draw a circle on a piece of paper. My mom puts it on the fridge. Okay? All of my sister's report cards go on the fridge. None of mine. None of mine. Right? Hey, I'm a doctor now. She's not. But whatever, Courtney. Okay? So now my mom's fridge looks like this. But my mom's fridge doesn't need to look like this because my mom's got this. And now my mom can annoy people all over the country with her phone. And she does. Right? But it's not about Instagram. She's found a way to connect to the emotion of the listener. And when you do that, there's a better chance for the story to be told. I can tell you that in Fall Creek, Wisconsin, during homecoming, all of our kids get together in the gym and play games. Kindergarten kids, 12th grade kids, all in the gym, all playing games, 835 kids, and it's awesome. And I tell you that, and you think, that sounds like a really cool idea. But what happens when I show you? When I show you, it's different, right? Because you don't know Matt and you don't know Sam. But you know somebody like Matt and you know somebody like Sam, and you probably know somebody like Matt who used to look like somebody like Sam. Now you want to know more about it, right? Connect to the emotion because it's not just about the facts, it's about the feelings connected to the facts along the way. And the more that we put ourselves in that situation, the better chance we have for these stories to be told. They're all over the place if we're allowing ourselves to put them in these spots. And before, all these ideas that we're talking about are in a couple of books that I co-authored. I'm not telling you because I want you to buy the books. I tell you that because we gave these to our staff members before we printed them. And I said, if there's anything in here that's not real, that doesn't help you as an educator, that doesn't make you feel confident in what you do, you need to tell me, because I'm not going to print a bunch of platitudes that don't mean anything to anybody. And one of my teachers, after she read the book, she came into my office, she said this. She didn't say it was the school, your school, or Fall Creek. She said it was ours. That word changes the way that we operate. When we talk like this, when we talk in we, us, our, as opposed to me, you, them, it gives everybody in these spaces momentum to create along the way. Nobody understands what we do. At the same time, we got to put ourselves in a position where we can create some momentum along the way. Otherwise, we feel like we're always chasing. We're like these people that chase the cheese wheel. Have you seen these people? Have you seen them? Like this is work right here. Here's the cheese wheel. This is the beginning of the year for you, where all of your plans are made, all of your updates are done, all of your equipment is purchased, and everything's ready to go. And then the year starts and things get a little bit weird. All right, so here we go. Coming down here. Now, here's my guy standing up, still feeling really good about the school year. That's what we call July, when nobody showed up yet. And then it just gets weird. Yep. And bam, there's October. And we're going to keep this thing going. Oh, yeah. Okay. December and we're going to keep this thing going. This is what we're doing. Yeah, there we go. Get down to the end of the year. We're still working ourselves. And we're still doing stuff in June. But then what do these people do the next year? They go back up and they do it again. And I understand there's a little liquid courage involved here. But they also have a group of people willing to do the crazy with them, right? We got to put ourselves in these spots that allow us to see some of these things. And I think that's been a big deal in terms of the work that we do. And if we can extend all these conversations, we give ourselves the best chance along the way. And I think our biggest piece of what we do is what can we really think about on a level that allows us to see some of these great things. Otherwise, we put ourselves in a spot where you don't get a chance to see some of them. And if what we can do is think about things a little bit differently. A couple of years ago, we were being sued in federal court. And I don't know if you've ever been sued in federal court. It's not awesome. I'm just going to say it. It's not super. So we were being sued in federal court for our COVID policy, which was identical to every policy in the county based on what the county had said. But we were getting sued for it. And so I got a call from my board president, and he said, "Hey, do you want to talk to the Washington Post, or do you want me to talk to the Washington Post?" I said, "I don't want either of us to talk to the Washington Post. Why are we talking to the Washington Post?" And of course, I look at the main page of the Washington Post, and there we are on the main page of the Washington Post. Then I looked at NBC and ABC, and then I look at CNN.com. And on CNN.com, there's a woman talking about the school district of Fall Creek, 835 kids, Fall Creek, Wisconsin, nowhere she's ever been, and referring to the Fall Creek School District as a snake pit. And in this moment, I was devastated because I thought we have been building ourselves up for 9 years. And in one scenario that we couldn't control, it's all going to be lost. And I was devastated. And I'm walking around school with my head down. I don't want to be out with people because I don't want them to have to ask me about the lawsuit or whatever. And I was walking across the playground. And as I'm walking across the playground with my head down, I know I wasn't noticing anything. There was a kid. His name's Walter, little first grade kid. And he yells at me. He says, "Sanfilippo, look up, watch me." And the kid just started running. And he's doing circles. And I'm watching him and I'm cheering for him. Then he takes off. Doesn't come back for feedback. Just takes off. Just takes off. And in that 30 seconds, I forgot all about the lawsuit. I forgot all about all the stuff. And I got back to my office and I remembered everything. It didn't go away. But in that moment, I remembered why we were there. And when we don't remember that, it makes it really hard. So what do we do to put ourselves in a mindset where we can see some of these great things? Because otherwise we just keep going and going and going and doing and doing and doing. And what do we want to do to put ourselves in the right mindset, but also see what it really looks like along the way? And I think the thing that we have to consider when it comes down to this work is that if we're always chasing, we don't get a chance to see some of the great things. And if the only people that we talk to, if the only people that we talk to are the people that we need something from, and we screw that situation up, like it's this. Let's just be honest, right? It's this. But if we're always talking to them and then we screw something up, it doesn't have as big of an impact. Like, let's say that you're a superintendent in Northwest Wisconsin, and let's say that you send out an email to 950 families just to let them know that one of the buses is going to be a little bit late. And maybe in that email to 950 families to let them know the bus is going to be a little bit late, maybe you forget a letter. Now, there are a lot of letters and emails, as you know. Most of them, if you miss one, it's not that big a deal. But other times, maybe it's a bigger deal than you think. Maybe you just forget one little tiny letter. Maybe it was just one little tiny letter. Maybe that's how I was feeling that day, right? I got one call from a 4th grade teacher. He's like, man, you're not going to believe what you did. I said, I just misspelled something. Like, this could have been a lot worse. Relax, man. Focus on positive. We're not out here trying to create false promises. We just want people to see us for who we are. That's it.
Hi, honey.
Oh, he's
Hi,
smile.
honey. Hi, lovey. Honey. Sweetie.
It's Mom.
Lovey. Hi, sweet boy. Hi, sweet boy.
But here's the thing. Like, I don't know the mom and I don't know the kid. But I can make you a promise. Mom didn't make sure that her makeup was perfect. She didn't make sure that her hair was perfect. She didn't go out and buy a new outfit. All she wanted was for him to see her. All we want is for them to see us for who we are and what we do. Because who we are and what we do is incredible. And sometimes if you're using social, some really fun things happen. Like, I got this tweet from the mom in that video a couple of years later saying, thanks for sharing a story of my little guy. Here he is a couple of years after that video was taken, right? All this stuff is out there. It's available to us if we're willing to lean into it. A couple of years ago, I got a chance to take over for one of our custodians. This is how we're going to close today. So a couple of years ago, I got a chance to take over for one of our custodians. And before I took over for the custodian, we put out this video. It's a 59-second video to let everybody know what was going to happen throughout the course of the day. We did 4 things very intentionally in this 59-second video. I want to see if you can come up with all 4 things. 4 things very intentionally, 59 seconds. Here we go.
And so I get a chance to take over for one of our amazing custodians, Shirley. So I just wanted to give a quick announcement to the Fall Creek staff and students. First and foremost, if you think that the hallways and bathrooms are going to be as clean as normal, like, just get past that. That's not happening. She's phenomenal at this work, me, not so much, okay? 2, if you have a schedule that tells you about when the bathroom in your area is going to be clean, what you're going to want to do is crumple that thing up and throw it away, because I have no idea how long this is going to take me, right? And like, I could be here till midnight. I could. And last and most importantly for me is that if you feel like you need to throw up, just don't. Because if I got to clean it up, then I'm going to throw up. And if I throw, it's not going to be a good situation for anybody. So if you could, let's just not do that. All right? All right, Shirley, I got you today. All right. Have a great day, everybody. Take care.
All right, so just because of time, I'm not going to be able to. I typically would have you turn to the person next to you and come up with the 4 things. I'm just going to give you the 4 things just so we have them. First thing is, I got the Go Cricket shirt on because we're always branding. The second thing is that we value her work. She's phenomenal at this work, me not so much. Third thing is the only one I want you to get right, and I want you to say it out loud. What's her name? Shirley. That's my favorite part of every presentation. And the reason is that there are tens of thousands of people across the country that know the name of a custodian in Fall Creek, Wisconsin. Her work has value too. And the last thing is the cart, because I think people see that cart going down the hallway every day, but I don't think people see the person behind the cart going down the hallway. Shirley was gone for the day, came back for the day, came into my office, closes the door after she was done. She goes, "You're not going to believe what just happened to me." And I just started apologizing. This was not a good job fit for me. We can talk about that later. I said, "I am so sorry. I didn't know that that's where it went." She said, "I was walking down the middle school hallway and you're not going to believe what the middle school kids did." I said, "Shirley, I am not here to explain middle school behavior. You're going to need to tell me what happened." She said, "I was walking down the middle school hallway and all the middle school kids, they backed up." And I laughed and she got real emotional real quick. She said, "Joe, I've been here for 25 years. They never backed up. They're always really nice, but they never backed up. People see that cart going down the hallway every single day, but people don't see the person behind the cart going down the hallway. And the most important thing will always be the person behind the cart going down the hallway. When we create moments for the person behind the cart going down the hallway, and the person behind the wheel on the bus, and the person behind the counter in the kitchen, and the person behind the desk in the office, and everybody in the organization, we create these moments that turn into movements. And that's how we change the conversation about what we do. Thank you so much for having me today. I truly appreciate the opportunity. If you have any questions, please let me know. On Wisconsin.
Thank you, Joe. We are out of time for questions, but I know we'll have your contact information online, or you can send questions through me. Thank you for a great kickoff to our conference, and the IT Awards ceremony will be up next, right in this